Welcome, everybody. This is it's rodeo time, and I have in the house one of my good friends, Mr. Wade Bowen.
Good to be here.
We get to hang out. I see that's a few times outside of Music Fest, but this is the main spot.
This is always our reunion, right?
Yeah, all of you guys.
Yeah.
This is the main deal for just the Texas country scene.
Yeah, it's a good time to just kind of, I always take time off around Christmas anyway, so this kind of gets the blood flowing again for the year and musically, but it's also cool to come up here and watch everybody's shows, man. I'm a fan first, so I love to roam around and watch everybody play, and I think everybody plays better, at these kind of festivals because, everybody's watching each other.
Yeah,
right?
know that.
Everybody's on the side.
Cody Canada might be standing there, right?
Well, not him. I don't care about him, but
yeah, well, yeah. Of course.
Of course, yeah. People like that, it's like they're all over backstage and out front, and it's like you want to look good amongst your peers, right? So
yeah,
friendly competition. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, JB mentioned one time it means a lot to him that fans think that he's a good bull rider, but after he made a good bull ride and he saw his buddies excited, and
yeah.
I thought that was a good point. When you can, impress your buddies, that's when it's really probably means something.
Yeah, 1,000%. When they get up and jam with you, or you walk off stage and they're all, hey, great job or whatever, it's a little extra. No offense to the fans at all.
It's nothing against.
It's just that thing, like you want to, this friendly competition thing. You want to be able to, have your buddies say, "Man, great job, really enjoyed it." You want a little, it's like when they say, "Man, I really enjoyed your new album" or something. It's like it's a little extra bonus for us.
Well, yeah, it's nothing against fans because the added thing to that is, we were just talking about Hudson, and he might be he played at the Big Tent, and Shane Smith was also playing at the Big Tent, and so if if Shane's sitting there and listened to a show and were to give him some knuckles, that's just, he's probably looked up to Shane for however long, and there's that added when somebody that you has inspired you. Anyhow, I'm sure that's how you feel whenever I give you,
for sure. Whenever you thumbs up me or whatever, yeah.
The few times that I have. No, I'm just kidding.
Once or twice. And
you never know who you're going to run into here.
Right.
I was in the Grand, and I was on my phone, and somebody tapped me. I look up, and it was Hayes Carl, and it's just you never know who's in this hallway.
I know, man. I know.
It's crazy about Music Fest.
I was trying to get here, on time, and you just get stopped by everybody or saying hello, seeing John Randall again. We hung out last night, but once again, seeing him or Susie Bogas, whoever, you just got to, it's that limited time sometimes where you get that might be the only time I see them all week to catch up for 5 seconds and then move on, so.
Well, I mean, even also as a fan.
Yeah.
Because, the fans that come in are, they get to interact with you guys just as much too.
Yeah, it's just as easy for fans to run up to us here and take a picture and say hello all day, every day. It's enjoyable. I love it. It's like so much of the year you spend, separated from everybody. They can't get backstage, or they, you have to only meet them in a meet and greet or something. And here it's a 4-day meet and greet. It's fun.
How long have you been coming up here?
I think this is 23 years.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So some of your early albums, some of your first few, then, huh?
Yeah. Let's see. My first record was 2001. So right after that, I guess I started coming up here.
Man. So this means a little more to you than just another show.
Yeah, yes, it really is like a family reunion for me. Like I said, just to come up here and visit with everybody and see. I've seen it go through so many different phases too. When I first came up here, there was only 3 shows a day. There was a show at 3, there was a show at 7, and there was a show at night. And it was 3 different venues. And back then there was only probably, 15 artists on the deal. And we would, that especially then, everyone was at everyone's shows because that's the only show. It was the only show for the day.
Right.
At 3:00 there was a show, 7 there was a show, 10, but it was the only show going on. So, like now we have, I'm like, I do the finale kind of thing every year, the final show. And it's like, now it's like hard to try to figure out who's going to actually be there, who's not playing a show, and who's running around crazy.
Yeah.
Everything overlaps now, but the early days it was, look over and you see like Cody Canada. I remember one time looked over on the side of our stage, like our second year here, and we were playing the late show, and Cody was on Pat Green's shoulders, just doing one of these with it. I'm like, that was a lot of fun, the early days. We'd van it up here and barely make it, and it's crazy how much bigger it's gotten now.
That's wild. So I want to talk about the early days, like when that first album did come out. Like what's life like for Wade Bowen in 2001 as a musician, or even before that? How did that start?
Well, I started in Lubbock. I grew up in Waco, and then went to college. Broke my dad's heart. He played golf at Baylor, and we were Baylor fans my whole life. And then I just really wanted to get out of town, get away, and went to visit a buddy who was a year older than me in Lubbock, and fell in love with Lubbock. Fell in love with Texas Tech, and so I broke his heart and went to Tech. Then my little sister, she broke his heart again and went to Tech also, and followed in my footsteps. But so I started playing music out there. I didn't really do a whole lot. I was kind of a late bloomer musically, because I didn't really learn guitar till I was about 17. I was playing sports and was all about that in high school and stuff. So when I got to Tech, the age-old story, met some friends, started jamming in the garage, and started playing the bars, started begging the bars to let us come in, even though we were, underage at the time. And so like the last 3 years of my college days, I was playing full-time pretty much.
How many years were you in college?
9. No.
The way you said it, like,
well, the 5.5, the last 3 years, man.
Those last 3 or 4 years of college,
Tommy.
man. They call them Doctors Tommy.
But we did, man. We started playing. That was my college life, was convincing professors to let me out of class on Friday or something, to let me take a test early or something, so I could. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I wasn't the best student, but I did graduate, and it took me a good 5.5 years, but I got it done. Got that piece of paper on the wall. Yeah. But that's where we started. That's when we made the first record and started playing full time and just begging bars all over to let us play. And we were traveling in a pickup truck, extended cab pickup truck, and a 5x8 trailer in those days. 5 of us.
So before you left college, you knew that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, 1,000%. I was actually, our band was called West 84 in college. And then as I graduated and moved on to other stuff, it was Wade Bowen and West 84, because I was pretty sure that I was the only one in the band that wanted to pursue it full time. My guitar player at the time that started the band with me, he was with me for a long time. He was with me about 14 years. So he and I kind of morphed into Wade Bowen, together. But yeah, I knew I wanted to do this, even though I was late to playing guitar. I knew I wanted to do this as a kid. Mm-hmm. The other stuff was just kind of stalling it, I guess. Yeah. But I knew I wanted to do it. My mom was a singer, and just kind of as a hobby kind of thing, and she always just kind of subtly pushed me to chase my dreams, and so I was a big country music fan growing up and wanted to do this from as long as I can remember. Was
the Texas country music scene wasn't quite what it was then as it is now, though, right?
No, nothing.
So was that like a thought that you wanted to? Well, I guess if it wasn't a culture, so to speak, you just wanted to sing country music.
I wanted to sing country music, yeah. Well, and then my freshman year at Tech, before I had the band and everything, my freshman year at Tech, I went and saw Robert Earl Keen play. Mm. And up until that point, I thought, I'm going to have to do the age-old thing of move to Nashville, wait tables, write songs, and wait my turn to get a label deal. And that's all that any of us knew at that time. That was the only path that I knew of, And then I saw Robert Earl play as a freshman at Tech, and I was like, wait, I'm a fan of this guy. I love his music, because the number 2 Live Dinner had come out a couple of years before that. So he kind of had a he blew up again, and it was really cool to see this guy that, in my opinion, didn't have commercial country success, didn't have mainstream success, and the place was sold out and people were going crazy. And I was like, man, wait, I can do this now and not have to move to Nashville and not have to, do the whole waiting tables thing and all that. And so that's when I tell Robert all the time, man, that changed my life, because I immediately went and started a band and started really focusing on the songwriting thing and just started trying to develop doing what he was doing and started playing the bars. But the only thing, you're right, like during that time, there was not as much acceptance of original music. They wanted you to be a bar band to play the covers and stuff. And there wasn't a whole lot of live music venues, as many as there are now. So, we ventured into some dance hall things where you'd play multiple sets and all that stuff, at that time. And we're just kind of fumbling our way through it. And then all of a sudden these, the Pat Green success started happening, Jack Ingram, and this thing kind of started to take off a little bit more. And so we all started having more venues to play. All of a sudden, they're sticking stages in the corners of restaurants, and they're sticking stages in the corners of bars, and they're building on to places and putting you in the back, with more crowd space and stuff. Like, these things just started kind of blowing up. And it gave us more opportunities to play our own original music. They wanted you to come in there and play your songs and not the cover stuff. So credit to Robert Earl and Pat and those guys. But that was kind of the next way, because this scene goes back to the 70s, right, with Armadillo Headquarters and Willie and Waylon. And you think about, there's not a music scene anywhere that's lasted that long. I mean, we're talking, I'm not real good at math, but that's 50-something years.
Yeah.
And that's pretty crazy to think about that, So there was Jerry Jeff and all those guys in the 70s and Guy Clark and all the stuff, and it kind of had the thing in the 80s kind of faded a little bit, but then all of a sudden here we are in the late 90s, a kind of resurgence of it all, and it's been pretty fun to be a part of it, man.
Yeah. Is there anywhere else outside of Music Fest that really captures all of it and like showcases it like this?
I think the Mile Zero Fest does a pretty good job of like getting a bunch of us together. There seems to be more going on at this festival. There seems to be like way more venues, interviews, people involved, companies involved, and things like that. Because, I mean, I guess you would assume that after 40 years, almost 40 years now of a festival, right? They've got it locked down pretty good. And Mile Zero does a pretty good job of only being 6 years old of trying to develop, something where it's a bunch of us getting together and jamming and playing and doing it. But I can't really think of any other situations that are like this, where we all get to just...
you just can't see all the shows.
Can't see all the shows, no.
Yeah, and
You really, I mean, and
I'm not getting a kickback for that. I mean, I am an MC up here. I'm just a big fan of this place, and so anyhow, really, I'm not trying to just circle back to Music Fest again and again.
You should.
It's just crazy the amount of, like, if you're a fan of this music, then it's just everyone's here.
Everyone's here. Yeah,
and there's some people that have, like, everyone's here or everyone's at least been here.
For sure. Yeah, everyone's not really here at one time anymore, but because everyone, there's the big acts and everything. Kind of, some years it works and some years it doesn't. I just block it off of my calendar. Like, I'm going to be there. I'll just have to figure it out, But you're right. I mean, and another thing that you've seen is it helped develop younger acts. I think they come up here and, if they're playing back home and a lot of times they're playing to not very many people sometimes, because they're developing their careers and starting, but they're really good. They can come up here and the fans that are here, no matter how small the room is or what stage they're on here, you're going to have people out there that are listening and caring about what you're doing. And so it gives you an early taste of that in your mouth. And you're like, okay, as an artist, it's something really good to build off of. And like we were talking about before we went on, I mean, there's a lot of really good young talent right now in this scene. maybe the best it's been in a long time, you know, in my opinion. And they're up here, and you see them with this. You know, I'm older, so it's fun to watch those younger ones with like this new sense of hope in their eyes. You know, they're like, they're all so excited and so anxious to just be a part of all of this and around it, and it's really cool to see that. For me, not that I'm a bitter, angry old man or anything, but
Well, I bet it's a cool thing for a young artist to check this off their list. You know,
for sure.
I bet it's a neat moment for them. Like I just introduced Tanner Usray over at the Big Tent. And
really good, yeah.
Young guy. It seemed that's cool that he's at the Big Tent. Like that seems like a perfect fit for him. But you know, on his way up, same thing for Hudson Westbrook that you know we talked about, and like that's a big show, and he gets to be here with guys like yourself.
It's fun, man. I've really enjoyed like I go check these guys out, and like I said, my son, he's 16, and he helps introduce me to a lot of these guys that I may not be familiar with, but it's really fun, man. Because I'll go watch the shows, and I'm really blown away at the, you know, maturity of the bands and how well they play, and it's really fun. And it's really fun to walk up to them and say, "Hey, I'm proud of you. You're doing really good," and everybody's respectful and fun, and hopefully it leads to good writes someday. We'll all write together. All those things, you know, just carrying on this torch of a festival that's been going on for 39 years, man. That's pretty crazy.
So what about the early days of how long after college you take off and you are now Wade Bowen Band, and I guess what year did you graduate college?
01.
Okay, so that is the year that you released your first album.
Yeah,
okay.
That's when I had a little BS album that I discontinued. Nobody's ever going to hear that one again.
Yeah.
But that was the first real record that I made, was in 01.
Yeah.
Right after I graduated, like right as I was graduating, I was planning that record, going in the studio at the same time, knowing that I was going to use that to try to, you know, get out there a little bit more. So we made that record, and then I immediately, right after that, did a live album at the Blue Light in Lubbock, which was kind of like that was my home. My first gig I ever played was at Stubbs in Lubbock, but then that was October of '98. But then they closed down in March of '98. But the Blue Light '99. But the Blue Light opened up in February of '99, and so all the people that worked at Stubbs moved over to the Blue Light. Drew Brown and a bunch of people. So they said, you should call these guys. They're college band from here, and they, you know, kids come watch them play.
Yeah.
We were terrible, but we had a lot of friends that came out and watched us, so the bars wanted to book us. You know, It was like a good thank the Lord. You know, we had a good support, and so that's the Blue Light was like the place where I cut my teeth. I played there every Tuesday acoustic, you know, for like $100, and I thought it was $1 million, and then they upped me to like 125, and I was like, this is amazing, you know.
Yeah, never gonna see a poor day.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was, you know, college. I didn't have to really. I mean, I did some other various jobs, but that was $1 million to a college kid, and so, and then we developed kind of that thing, and then we right after I graduated made that studio record called "Try Not to Listen," and then I did the Blue Light live record there, and then that kind of. I think it really kind of showed off that live albums were so popular then, you know. Well, they're not really anymore, but they were big then.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, that's kind of around the, you know, Cross Canadian had that live, you know, Welcome to the Wormy Dog, and
right, yeah,
yeah. Now that you mention it, that was kind of a thing right then.
Yeah, Ragweed was coming through when we were starting, and like they'd play the Blue Light, and that's how we got to know each other. And like I literally ran sound for them one night because
oh, cool.
I mean, just things like that. We were just kind of starting out. I remember Cody even telling me like, I don't think we're going to come back here. I'm not sure that it's clicking. And then all of a sudden they just blew up, you know, and Ragweed, that Live and Loud at the Wormy Dog took off, you know, and back when you're selling CDs, they'd sell out every night. And it was really fun to watch them just take off. And they were all coming through Lubbock though. So I got to meet everybody and got to become friends with everybody through that, you know, through the Blue Light.
Yeah. So just for the listeners, explain, like, I've only been in there a couple of times. You know, I grew up in a little bitty town, Memphis, like 2 hours from Lubbock. So like during high school, I was always going to Lubbock, but I was kind of like you with Waco. And I ended up going down to College Station for a little while.
Yeah.
I needed to. I wanted to go the other way. I followed my sister down there. Well, anyways, but the Blue Light, man, just a staple for Lubbock, Texas. Like, what's it like in there?
Well, I think they expanded a little bit, but forever it was like 285 capacity. You know, that's all it holds. And literally, we were the first band to ever play there. The guy called and was like, "I want y'all to come over," and it was like a random night, and there was nobody in the bar, nobody, because it wasn't developed yet. Nobody knew to go there, and we just kind of stuck with them. And then you started seeing that they really care about music, and the people that have they passed it down to the new bartenders and the owners and everything that's gone through the years. They really stick to the songwriters and the musicians, and they cater to them. And you know, if you're in Lubbock, Texas, you know that the Blue Light is a place you can go and watch open mic night. You can go watch people cut their teeth, you know, musically still to this day, you know. And Lubbock's a hard crowd to get, you know, like they're picky in a really good way, you know, but once you get them, they're wild and crazy and it's a blast, but they make people work for it and earn it, you know. They don't just jump for joy of anybody that jumps on that Blue Light stage. You got to earn their respect, and it's pretty cool to watch that through the years, watch everybody do that, you know.
Yeah. So it probably means a lot to you, like just thinking about your career and 20 years later, looking back that you got to record a live album there. That's neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my, I still go back there, and no matter where we're playing, a festival or another place or whatever, I go back to Blue Light, and every time I go in there, it just feels like this flood of memories hits me, and just so many great memories there. And I'm so glad that, you know, same with Cheatham Street, for example, in San Marcos, you know, like staples like that need to stick around. And I'm so glad that people continue to carry the torch for those venues. They need to be there. People have to have somewhere to start. They have to have somewhere to play and learn and figure the mess out, because nobody can jump into this. And, you know, these TikTokers find that out the hard way. Like, cool, man, you blew up on TikTok, but now you got to go play that in front of people, and that's not the same, bud.
Yeah, what if only 7 people show up?
Yeah, or even 7,000. You just still have to know what you're doing. It's hard. I mean, playing music and singing in a microphone with a guitar, and then you add a band, that stuff is not easy. It's hard, you know. So it's a big learning curve.
Yeah.
Blue Light's really good about that. So we're sticking true to it.
The staple for us turned into, you know, the Dixie Chicken, which, you know, people don't play in there, but a lot of people play in Northgate, right? And right now there's, I don't know, the campus or what, they're trying to push to get rid of Northgate and put high rises in.
That's crazy.
But a lot of the communities trying to get it labeled a historic district. So
they should.
Yeah. And it 100% should. So,
yeah.
But, I feel that same thing if I go into the Dixie Chicken, that those flooded memories kind of come back. But a few places in Lubbock too, like, cause I was even in there before I was the Chicken. But, so how did those next few albums go after Blue Light Live?
Then so I was still really broke and trying to figure the mess out that is music. And so we were playing, and, you know, we had a few places where we made some money, but nothing crazy. But then I took about 3 years to make a record called Lost Hotel, and I didn't release that until 2006. So that was a big break. But the reason is because I'd get some money. I had a producer, and we were working together at the time, but I'd get some money, and then I'd go in and record like 5 songs, and then I'd have no money and have to go back and pile it back
expensive,
up.
Isn't it?
Oh, it's so expensive. And so I did that like three or four times. We ended up recording like
34 times,
3 to 4.
Oh,
not 34. Gotcha. I couldn't afford that. 3 to 4 times. So we had like 20 something songs, you know, that we had recorded for that record. And that record, that once I released it, my goal was to try to use that record to try to like get it to other people, so we could establish myself as a songwriter and then get thrown on shows, you know, and that's where it kind of started taking off for us, was that record, that Lost Hotel record. And then 2008, I made a record called If We Ever Make It Home. And that was kind of my I call it my artist record. I wanted to let people know establish myself as an artist, right?
Yeah, sure.
It was a little bigger sounding record. And with that record, after that record came out, is when I eventually got the big publishing deal out of Nashville, eventually got a record deal out of that in Nashville. And then I started kind of moving into the next phase of my career after that.
Yeah.
That was from 98 to 2009 was a long trip.
Yeah.
A lot of years of trying to figure the mess out.
And then you also, judging by how old Brock is, you throw in a family getting started in there.
Throwing a family in 2005 was my older boy. He's Bruce.
Yeah.
We had that in 2000. Had him in 2005. So yeah, throwing a family with all that, and then you're trying to, Yeah. And I was still at the point when we first got married. I was still at the point where I would play like the Wormy Dog in Stillwater, and the owner would let me stay at his house on Sunday night because he offered to pay me $100 to play a Monday night acoustic, and I would just stay, and the band would go home to Lubbock.
Yeah,
and I would stay and
just to get $100,
just to get $100 or $200 or whatever it was, and then drive all the way back home, and
And you went back to Waco?
To New Braunfels. I was
New Braunfels.
living in New Braunfels then, yeah. I've lived in New Braunfels for about 20 years now.
Were you on the golf course with Doug Moreland in New Braunfels? He was telling a story about y'all playing golf. Whenever he decided, he was like, "Hey, I want to come up to that music fest." We just I had him on the podcast yesterday.
Oh no, I don't know, man. Probably not, but he was kind of the original New Braunfels guy. Him and that Compound crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure y'all talked about that. That was an interesting New Braunfels era that I kind of got there after that. But
okay,
I mean, we hung out there a lot
yeah.
with the Compound crew. That's
gotcha.
Doug Moreland and Dub Miller, Blue Edmondson. They all had like trailers parked behind the River Road Ice House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was
he didn't call it the Compound crew, but we did talk about the trailer behind.
We called it the Compound. It was like everybody's going to
right.
probably bad reference for Waco guys to call it the Compound, but that's what everybody else called it. So that's what we called it.
Yeah.
But we would always go like wherever we were playing, especially like because I was living in Lubbock and then I moved to Austin. But if we were playing close, we would all go there after shows.
Oh, really?
Just hang out and drink there at the Compound. So
yeah, it
crazy
seems
time.
like that New Braunfels area really, a lot of you guys congregated and started, moving to there. Is that still the thing now?
There's a lot of us there. Yeah, it's Randy lives there. Drew Kennedy, Josh Greider, Midnight River Choir guys. They're there. Jade there. There's a lot of people there. It's a pretty good home bed for music still, and you can see it just within the vicinity. There's Green Hall, there's Whitewater, there's Fry High. There's tons of venues to play that are constantly competing, and they all seem to thrive. And I can't believe they still, even though they're competing with each other, they still stay in business and do okay. So,
what was the switch like for you from, going down the road? I see a lot of similarities. Bree and I were talking about it earlier on her podcast between musicians and rodeo cowboys. We're going to that town's party. You're headed to a party to perform and do your thing. And same thing with rodeo cowboys. How did that early on? It's just like, that's what everybody, all these young artists, aspiring, bands, whatever, that's the thing. Like, yeah, let's go play and party. And
yeah.
And I know people love the music too, but it's a good time. Yeah. But then as you switch to being a family man, like it's probably a lot harder to hit the road sometimes. Like, how did you manage that?
It is, but like for me, it's I married a woman that knew what she was getting into, and she's never once given me hell about that, and God bless her for that. This is a dream, but it's also a living, right? You got to remember that too. So she understands it's a job, no different from the rodeo guys or the athletes that go. I mean, I can imagine how baseball players how much they're gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Or Marines or the armed service guys. I mean, like think about how many people spend their days on the road that have to figure it out, and so that's just our family's always figured it out. And I struggled with it for years. It's hard to be away from the family, hard to be away from the kids because I had a dad growing up that, was always there. He's an electrician, coached me in baseball and all those things that I couldn't do. But I just remind myself that my kids don't know any different. They didn't have my childhood. They have their own. And so this is their childhood. And so their childhood has been amazing as far as I got pictures of them when they're like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old, jumping up on stage with me and, getting to do things that I never got to do as a kid. My son's 16 here with me at Steamboat Music Fest running around. We didn't do any of that stuff growing up. So, I mean, there's good and bad to all of it. You just have to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You just have to stay positive about it, right? Like, I mean, it is what it is. And I guess the biggest transition mentally is you go from talking about comparing ourselves to rodeo cowboys and stuff, because we go from the similarity. I think the biggest similarity between all of us is, and same with athletes that end up making it in the pros and stuff, like you don't do it for the success or the money or any of that. Like, I mean, obviously you want to make a living, but that stuff never crossed my mind. I talk about it now looking back, like how broke I was, but I never felt broke. I never felt that way. I was just in the game and on the journey. And I was so excited to be doing it. I would drive 13 hours and sleep on a couch and get up and drive, 8 hours the next day and play another show. But it never fazed me once. Like it was just for the love of the game, right? It's in our blood. It's who we are. It's what makes us. And so I take a lot of pride in that, because it's not everybody can do it. This is I've watched people come and go in this business. I've watched people come and go from my business. My players and crew guys and stuff.
Your own team.
They just can't handle it or don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, I love it as much now as I ever have.
Dang.
And that's a good feeling to do.
Does the 13-hour drive and the couch bother you any more than it?
I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could. I tell myself I don't know if I could go back and do it all again, knowing what I don't know now. Yeah. Because it was a hard.
There's a bronc rider. His name's Bradley Harder, and he went to the NFL like, I want to say 13 times, maybe 12 or 13, something like that. And I was talking to him, and he's like, man, if they would bring the Bronx to me, that's what I miss the most. It's the traveling that I didn't. And I imagine that's another similarity. It's just like if you could just stay within 50 miles from the house and still do play the same amount of shows, probably.
Just stay around.
Just not have to do the 13-hour drive.
Yeah, because you still got 22 hours of the day that you're killing time and trying to figure this out, right? And then you got 2 hours where it's full game on. Here we go. This is great. So it does get harder the older I get. I will admit that. But it doesn't, I still love it.
Your passion
when I'm up there.
Changed.
Yeah, I love singing. I love playing. I love being on stage. I love being in the studio. I love writing songs. I love it all. But yeah, the road tripping and just being on the road is a lot harder on me than it used to be.
Yeah.
That's just physical too. Like getting older, like, man, I don't sleep on the bus like I used to, but
what would you tell a younger self leaving the Blue Light Live album or somewhere in there? Like because you've been at it a long time. Like what are some of the lessons you've learned that you might share with the younger Wade Bowen?
I would, I would tell myself, and I get asked the question a lot, like, what would you tell younger? What do you recommend? What do you tell younger kids? I think the biggest thing for me, I would say, is I would go back and tell myself to stop being so impatient. I was having a lot of fun and I really loved it, but I was always looking ahead to the next thing I could do, or try to get this done or this success in my head, or get to a bus or get the label or whatever. It was so much like the drive of trying to get to the next level or grow the thing. And I think I really, looking back, I wish I would have enjoyed like taking a deep breath a little bit and just enjoy the journey a little bit more. You know, does that make sense? Like,
Oh yeah.
enjoy the slow pace of it that happened. You know, I mean, it happens different for everybody. You look at Ty Myers, who's blowing up at 17 years old, right? I mean, he doesn't know the 10 years of hell that I endured to try to get someone to listen. Good for him. That's amazing, right? But I wish I would have, like, I really, like, being in the van, we all were right in there all the time. We talked a lot. We hung out a lot. Then you get into a bus and everybody spreads out. They're doing their thing throughout the day. And, you know, right now I probably don't really see a whole lot of guys until I walk on stage. And here we go. Hey, cool. All right, guys, let's go play a show. We're going to have the time of our lives. But just little things like that I wish I would have just enjoyed the journey a little bit more. Yeah. I did enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. But I wish I would have taken some time to just, in other words, when success happened, to just enjoy it and not be constantly looking ahead to the next thing. Yeah,
that's another similarity with rodeo. Like, guys can just get hooked on, you know, the ultimate goal is be a world champion. And, you know, before that, it's make the NFR. And before that, it's get in the top 50 so you can get into Houston and San Antonio. And before that, it's make a circuit finals. And then before that, it's make an AMI finals. And so all of these stair steps, guys in rodeo, like, it's just like, that's all that matters. And they forget about, you know, this one night in Coleman, Texas with their buddies, you know, where maybe they didn't even score or they were out of the money or whatever, but they're so focused on this future goal that they have that maybe that doesn't mean as much to them as, but then once you get there, you look back and you're talking about Coleman that night that you were 64 points, you know, and I imagine that's probably a similar feeling with musicians.
Is, because it's a fine line too, right? Because it's good to have the drive. You want to have that drive of, like, wanting to be better all the time. But it can be, you know, like my mom says, you know, she's always said a person's best quality is always their worst, right? And it's the drive that's
Wait, what? Tell me that. Explain that to me.
A person's best quality is always their worst, or usually their worst.
How do you mean?
Well, like, the drive to be better is a really, really great thing, because you're constantly looking, you know, you're constantly pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself. But at the same time, you're not taking time to really soak up the moment at the time, at the present time, you know. So
you get obsessed with something, now you're not paying attention to your family, and this thing that was good is now bad. I see what you're saying.
You can, you know, you can kind of catch 22 yourself if you don't watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's, you know, I don't know that work-life balance really exists, but I'm sure there's swings where you're just like, all right, I've been focused on music way too much. I need to spend time with the family. And then you look up for 3 weeks and you're like, all right, well, I also got to pay the bills. So now I got to get back to that. And I'm sure it's a lot of back and forth, but.
And it is also that drive, like I'm sure it's the same with rodeo guys. When you're home, you want to be on the road. And when you're on the road, you kind of most time want to be home, you know?
Yeah.
And I was talking to Willie Nelson's tour manager, you know, a few years ago, and he was saying even at Willie's age, which at that time he would have been like, I don't know, probably 88 or something, 89, when we were talking at this show together, and he was saying, yeah, Willie's still the same way. Like, when we're home, he's asking, when are we going back out? And when we're out on the road, he's asking, like, okay, when do we have time off? You know, so, and I was like, well, I guess that's the blessing and the curse of why we love to do what we do. Because we are gypsy spirits deep down, I guess, you know, like, I don't think you can fake this business, right? It's really hard it's a really tough business to be involved in, you know, same with the rodeo. And, like, you got to really, really love it to endure the things that we endure sometimes, you know, the beating internally and physically and especially mentally.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sleeping on the bar owner's couch to play an acoustic show the next day for $100, I mean, I there's no faking that. You have to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't think twice about it then. You were just, hell yeah, I get $100.
That's just part of it. Go
home, you know. So
it's
weird.
Has social media affected any of your strategies today?
Yeah, we were kind of my generation musicians like me and Randy and even probably Ragweed and I guess Jack and them were a little before us. But my guys, we kind of fell in a really weird time when we were beginning of our careers. We're kind of like CD sales were the thing, and then but we weren't like at that time we weren't massively big yet or hadn't really shut, our careers hadn't taken off yet, but we were selling CDs, and then that starts to fade as our careers get bigger. Mm-hmm. And then it transitions into this crazy streaming thing that was such a weird time in music to watch the transition from physical sales to streaming, right? That was such a weird...
And radio was kind of right next to CDs. Like you guys, you guys had to be on radio almost to get anybody to buy a CD.
Yeah, well, we had, in this scene, we were lucky that, radio wasn't a massive thing for us. We had fans that didn't really care if we were on the radio or not, so they just wanted to go buy records and support us. But yeah, for the most part, country music, if you wanted to make it at that time, it was, you got to get a song on the radio, and that's how your career takes off. And so and now we're at that, after the streaming phase has taken off, now we're a little bit older guys. So the streaming audience is not really, so we kind of fell in a weird time, because the streaming is tough for guys that are in our generation, but the younger guys, that's all anybody
that's all they
streams,
know.
Right? So we kind of had a weird part of our career.
Shift of focus.
Yeah. So we were either too young or too old, for the peak of both of those cells. So it's interesting. So as far as what have I learned, I don't know. My strategy changes just like everybody. Try to figure out this streaming stuff and how to release records, but I'm not sure that anybody really knows the process right now. Like you just, put a song out. A lot of people are putting singles out, before the records come out, to see what kind of sticks, and hopefully it does. And
is there a side of you though that I'm curious? Is there music that does go kind of unnoticed because it wasn't released properly or it wasn't promoted properly, or is it pretty much like the cream's going to rise to the top? Or, obviously in the beginning, but if you give it time, a good song gets to where it needs to go. Like how does it?
I think it does, but also, people's attention spans are so much shorter than they used to be. So, you release, if I release an album, for example, tomorrow, to me, there's a lot of songs that get wasted because people are just not listening to full albums like they used to. So, and I think we're all guilty of that. I'm not criticizing it in any way. It's just the day and age that we live in. People are just not giving albums the time anymore. They don't have the time, or they don't take the time. Who wants to? How many of us sit down and listen to a record unless we're on a long road trip from start to finish? It's hard to find that time. Point. Dang. We used to do that all the time. Yeah. Right? That was like, I'm not getting up from here with this case of beer until this record's done. I want to hear what he has to say. And now it's just about the song. So for me, I've got to make sure I choose the right song or two, and then maybe get lucky with some of the other stuff that we do on social media with the other bits and pieces of the tracks of other songs. But it's just shot in the dark,
Yeah.
Because you never know. These days, it's much harder. You could push a single, for example. In the early days, you could say, okay, this is what I want y'all to listen to. And now it's just really hit or miss. You can have something that takes off and then something that doesn't. It's an interesting time. It's hard to figure it out. Really, it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, you seem to be doing a good job.
It's a lot of effort, man. To try to be a little bit older and still try to compete with the streaming and the younger acts that are doing these crazy streaming numbers. But you can go out and sell tickets, It's just an older crowd's not streaming it like the younger kids do. So it's an interesting time in my career for sure. But yeah, we're figuring it out, man. I mean, the last 4 years, I've never released that much music in that amount of time ever in my life. So,
Really?
Yeah, I would just one after another, just song after song, album after album, Hold My Beer stuff, all that.
Yeah.
You know, that was my theory. And so
Hold My Beer is the most recent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it 10 total albums that you've put out or 11?
Like total in my career?
Yeah. Or is it more than that?
With Hold My Beer stuff, I think we're at like 15.
That many? Dang.
I think. Something like that. Pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah. I lost count. That's a lot.
It's a lot of work, man. But, you know, I love the studio, love writing, and love doing all that. And so that's the good thing about the day and age we live in is I used to go 2 years between records.
Yeah.
Now they'll lose interest. You got to keep giving them new songs.
Right.
And so if you enjoy it like I do, that's kind of a fun thing. You just
for sure
stay positive about it.
Yeah, you almost all right. You guys have now given me permission to do more of what I enjoy doing.
To record more songs. Yeah. But once again, they're gonna be a little picky about how they listen. So
man, I feel guilty now because I've definitely done that with albums. I lean on my interns. They kind of show me what's kind of, and it, to be honest, it's not, I love music so much, but it's kind of I find myself pretty busy, you know, with everything that I've got going on. And so I don't get a lot of time to just listen to an album.
Yeah. It's hard.
Even when we're driving, you know, there's a lot of work I can do on my phone now.
Yeah.
With the invention of the cell phone, and so I can, be doing a lot of work. And
yeah, same. And you're not alone in that. Everyone does that.
Yeah,
and I'm guilty of it too. And so you like it's also there's that, and the fact that it's so much easier to make music nowadays than it's ever been, and so there's so much new music thrown at people all the time versus the old days where it was like, okay, well, Tuesday, what was it? It was Tuesday used to be the day, right? Release day. And there was way fewer selections to choose from. So now it's just flooded with new music, and it's just hard to keep up. For everybody, you know? So thank God for fans.
What shows do you have this year that you're excited about?
Man, we're going to Europe for pretty much the whole month of February.
Dang.
We're going to be touring over there with Carly Pierce. She was nice enough to throw us on her tour, which is playing some amazing rooms over there. And I've toured over there a little bit, and it is so much fun. They really love music, and they listen differently. It's not better. It's just different, the way they listen.
Is 49 Winchester going too? I know they said they're going to Europe. I didn't know if
not on that tour. No, It's just the two of us on that one. But I think there's a lot of people going in February, it seems like. So.
Man, those people over there love country music.
They do. I
went to a little rodeo, Rodeo is kind of what we call it, in France. And we got on for 2 days, just a little indoor deal. And these people went crazy. And then we stepped in to eat, and it was next door to the arena, and it opened up to this big old warehouse. Hundreds of people line dancing to 90s country music.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like American country music. Love it. They go crazy over it.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love it. It's crazy. It's just, I mean, it's so expensive to get over there and so time consuming. But man, once you're there, I was making regular trips over there before 2020 happened, you know, but we haven't been back since. So I'm anxious to get back over there. Plus, Carly's as nice as they get, and her band's great. It's gonna be a fun trip.
Does that help like international streaming when you? I'm sure it does, but like, is that part of the strategy to go over there?
Yeah, and try to develop crowds. I mean, that's what we want. I want to be able to go over there and, you know, do our own thing eventually and make money, and as we would in California or
you bet
the East Coast. You know, you want to treat it as the same as a whole nother separate place where we can make money. And, you know, we're not there yet with it, but we play some small places through the years, and it's been so great. You can see how the word of mouth, they're really good at word of mouth and spreading it. But yeah, it's a completely different streaming deal. They still have Spotify and all that, but you got to release it over there.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to set up a whole nother release, and it's a whole nother thing. Just because it comes out here doesn't mean it's released there. So with the new music we've had last year, we had Flying, the record, in May, and then some more Hold My Beer stuff that we released shortly after that. So having new music going over there is good timing for us.
And then you have kind of what's the deal that you put on in Waco?
I did a Bowen Music Festival for years, and I honestly haven't done it the last couple of years. I kind of stopped. I started a new golf tournament, like a real high-end, fun music and golf kind of thing. We kind of went back to that because it's a little easier to put together and run than a huge, massive music festival. It just got too big and too much liability for our foundation. I have the Bowen Family Foundation, and we raised a lot of money through the years, like over $6 million, since we started our foundation through that festival and through other events. But now it's just like that festival everything kind of changed since COVID. So, the expenses and everything just got way too much liability. And I was like, I can't do this anymore to this foundation and risk that. Me sweating it out every year going, man, I hope people show up. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Hope something doesn't happen. And I just got kind of tired of it. So now we do like the golf stuff, and it's a lot less stress.
Huh.
We still raise, last year at our Bowen, we call it the Bowen Invitational. Last year it's kind of an invite only kind of thing, but we raised about almost $900,000.
Wow.
It's a good event, man. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about an upcoming album? You working on anything?
So, we were talking about like I push this song after song, and now with this one I'm going to take more time. I started writing for it, but I'm going to spend a lot of this year writing for this record and just take a deep breath. Yeah. Just see if I can just not push this one. I didn't hurry the last 2 records at all. I don't mean that, but I was just like push. And with this one, I'm going to do that in the same way, but I'm going to just relax a little bit and try not to hurry. And so I'm going to take a lot of this year to write it and hopefully get it recorded by the end of the year. That's what I'm hoping, and then release it sometime early next year.
Sweet.
So I'm excited, though. It's kind of fun to not have that pressure I put on myself the last few years of just, we got to hurry. We got to get this out. We got to get more content, right? That's all we hear. And so it's nice to not have that on myself right now. Because I started producing stuff and started producing the last 2 records I did. I produced them on my own. I produced the Hold My Beer stuff. And so it gave me a chance to really learn a lot. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to focus on that and try not to rush it.
How many shows you playing this year, you think?
Probably still stick with 100. And this past year, the 24, we did about 130. Dang. And I think we'll probably do close to that, 110, 150, 115.
What's the most you've done in a year?
I don't know. We probably did 160, 170 back in the early days.
So you're still going pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean, you think of 12 shows a month, right? That'd be 144 shows at Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's kind of what we gauge it off of. So going back to those days when we were 160, 170 shows, it was like almost all the time.
Man, that's a lot. That is a lot.
There was one month when we were starting to Hold My Beer. We used to do acoustic shows only, and we did like 28 shows in the month of June or something like that year. I was like, well, I can't even imagine doing that now, but
yeah, we just 28 in a month.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And we would play like, 2-hour, 3-hour shows on those acoustic deals. And then we go back with our bands on the weekends. And we go back to acoustic on Sunday through Wednesday.
That sounds more intense than 4th of July runs for Rodeo Cowboys.
It once again, back then we didn't think much of it at all. We just was like, all right, this is what we do, Man.
Well, my hat's off to you. I'm a big fan, and I enjoyed running into you, and I appreciate you jumping on and just sharing some of your stories. So,
my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
really enjoy what you do as well. It's fun. You crack me up. It's a good time. You get positive energy in this world is good. We need more of it. So
you bet.
Keep doing it, man. Keep doing your thing.
Well, I appreciate that.
Let's keep taking those half-face pictures.
Gosh. I love doing those. Everybody that has ever seen
my alter ego, my drunk alter ego is Paul.
Okay.
And Paul might be more famous than Wade in a lot of circles.
Okay.
And so Paul was the one who invented that a few years ago. Like, I don't know why we started doing that. It might have been Kyle Wieters from Randy Rogers' band.
Wait a second. When you say we, are you talking about you and Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kyle, too. I think he was there.
I don't trust Paul, people with alter egos.
We put Paul on the guest list and stuff. No. He like Kyle, I think Kyle was with me doing it too. I don't, Kyle Wieters, right? With Randy Rogers. He's his tour manager. Great guy. We got one of my best buds. And I think he was with us doing it too, but we just started we were just like, how funny would it be to just say, hey, let's take a selfie with people and then just walk up and not even include them or, and then it turned into, let's get half their face.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Man, people get so mad. Like when we first started doing it, we would be they'd be like, yeah, man, cool. And then they go, but the best is try to do it and then don't explain it.
Yeah.
Do it and then just walk off. Like,
right.
Cool, thanks, man. And just walk off and watch them go.
Yeah.
That was a terrible picture.
I did that to Zach Top yesterday.
What do you do? He's so nice too. He's probably
he picked up on it too. Oh, the other thing you do that I love doing is hey, I got to take this.
Oh yeah.
And then
I got that from Django Walker. I can't take credit for that one.
That is hilarious.
Django's always like,
yeah. Sorry. I got
to take this. I forgot. I hadn't used that one in a while. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't see Courtney Patton without her pulling one of those two on me. Oh,
I love it, man. It's good times.
That's hilarious.
Gotta have fun with your friends.
We usually wrap up with life advice. You got any of that
advice?
for us?
Oh gosh, any advice from Wade Bowen you probably shouldn't listen to, but life advice.
Something that's gotten you through either early days or here recently, or.
See, my dad, he's always said, life's. We can cuss on here, can't we?
Yeah, okay.
Podcast?
Yeah.
I won't cuss then. You kind of hesitated on that one.
No, I don't care. Yeah.
He said, he used the F-bomb, so I won't do that. But he said, life's not about messing up. It's about when you mess up, how you handle it.
Mm.
And that's always been a good one because, he always preached that to me growing up whenever I'd make mistakes. He's like, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. Just how you going to handle it? And it's always been a really great piece of advice.
See, now I'm trying to figure out which one of those words to replace the F word with.
Mess. Life ain't about effing up.
Yeah, I was way off. When you mess up, it's all
polite.
about how you. Anyway, yeah.
Good church going people like us. Yeah, that's been. So, I ran over my neighbor's mailbox on accident one morning. A brick mailbox.
Mm.
You'd be surprised how easily one of those goes down. I was shocked. I was like, "This is not good." And I called my dad. And I was 18 years old. I called my dad. I could hear the mad in his voice, and he said that to me. And he goes, "Life's not about up. It's about when you do, how you handle it. Go figure out what brick it is and rebuild something." And then he hung up on me.
Dang.
I was like, "Okay, yes, sir."
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty fun growing up. My life advice. My dad was the hard ass, and my mom was the good-hearted woman, loving a good time of man.
Yeah,
it still is that way. So you got advice from, with the devil and the angel on both shoulders, right?
Yeah,
it was always fun listening to their advice. But
I had that same thing. It was swapped though.
I used to say three pieces of advice. Drink lots of vodka, stay positive, and wash your hands.
Okay. Check, and check. Yeah.
You think Zach Topp would listen to that one?
Can I go with 2 out of 3 of those?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Yours would be drink
Ranch Fuel,
Ranch Fuel.
Plug.
Stay positive, and wash your hands.
And wash your hands.
Life will be good.
Cool.
See, I told you, don't listen to my advice. It's terrible.
Well, no, that was good. All of it. So
thanks for having me, man. It's been cool to catch up.
Yeah. I always enjoy running into you. So it was good to get to sit down with you. But
my son is so pumped to be here hanging out. So
yeah, that's cool.
Man, so
that's cool.
He's had a heck of a week up here. Gotten to meet a lot of people. We got a lot of pictures yesterday, man. We had like the day of all days yesterday, meeting all of the people he loves all in one day. So
think of that.
It's cool.
Yeah. It looked like, I think Cody Canada looked like he had his son with him.
Yeah, he has both of them, yeah.
That's neat that y'all get to do that, and then they get to not only ski and board or whatever, but they get to meet all your friends.
Yeah.
That's neat.
They're cousins, so it's fun to watch the interaction with them all. And
Uh-huh.
Cody, for those who don't know, Cody Canada and I married sisters.
Okay.
So that's why we're brother-in-laws. That's why we call each other B&Ls and heckle each other so much. But
right.
Yeah, their kids actually tour with them and go out on the road with them and stuff. So
yeah,
it's pretty fun to watch all that happen.
Fun. Well, my life advice is everybody go check out themusicfest.com. That way you can make your way up here. It usually sells out in a couple of hours. So I think they open it up in August. So if you guys are interested in joining this festival that I've been talking about for the last 3 podcasts, because we filmed them all here and recorded them here, then go check out themusicfest.com and also Wade Bowen.
Amen.
No,
that's good advice. It's a great festival.
Otherwise, if you don't listen to Wade Bowen, you ain't no cowboy.
That's right.
Cool. On to the next one. Pow, pow.